you didn't stack for Pulse, how would you spend 10K at launch? Hey, this is a good question. Let me think. At launch, well, it does depend on the price action a little bit. Because it's like, dude, you know how hard it's going to be for people to just scale in when they're like seeing numbers like blowing up like crazy. They're going to be like, oh, I gotta go all in. Or let's just say like the price is at launch price or whatever, not launch price, whatever the average sacrifice rate was, say that's the price. I would still say I'm not going to tell people what to get. That'd be financial advice. I'm not giving any of that. But you get some pulsex. I think Pulse is great. Maybe like 50% pulsex, 40% pulse, and maybe this is a little riskier, might pay off play, is get some of that. If the copied over PulseChain hex is extremely low for whatever reason, that could be a good pickup before it starts to get valued more. Maybe use 10% of that. Like, I guess that'd be $1,000. You put that into, maybe scale it in over a few days, because you never know if it's going to go way up or way down. It's going to be volatile, especially if you're talking like first day. Maybe some of that goes into the hex version on PulseChain. Not financial advice. I don't think you want to not be holding. Why do I use so many negatives? I don't think you want to miss out on holding some like a Richard Hart coin, because I think they all synergize with each other, and they're gonna pump on maybe on different cycles. And I'm sure people are gonna be like, oh, I sold this and then I bought that one when that one was low and then it went up and then I multiplied my gains. But like a lot of people are gonna try that and end up with less and then be sad forever, because you can get left behind real fast at the start of coin launches. I would say you'd want, yeah, I would just say get some of each. Like I would never say like, oh, only get pulsex, even though I really like pulsex and I think it'll be awesome. You're gonna want to hold the next potentially big Ethereum. A lot of people see that layer ones have done extremely well. PulseChain is the layer one. And so that narrative will probably pull through, and a lot of people will just buy the layer one because they're like, hey, I just get a basket of layer ones, and that usually does well. Boom. I think in the future, we'll probably see people basket getting new DEXs and stuff, just because, especially with these buy and burns, I think that's going to be a huge copycat type thing. People are going to try and copy that and try to get volumes however they can by, maybe they'll have promotions and other things to get people in, like, oh, you get an NFT if you do this much volume a day and all this other stuff that probably isn't great. But we want as much volume in pulsex as possible. I think holding all of it is a good idea. How you split that up, I don't think the percentages really are too crazy. Like, I can't imagine going into like point, like, oh, only 39% pulsex, 62 like of this one. Or not 62, that'd be too much. I think just in general, splitting it up between the Richard Hart ecosystem coins is solid strat. Personally, I think Richard Hart and his team are waiting for Uniswap v3 to open its code to fork it for pulsex. Isn't Uniswap v3 closed source for a year? Until April. Then v3, anyone can copy that and use that, so you can have concentrated liquidity and so you can do like positions. Like say you're gonna have a limit order. It's actually better than a limit order on v3 because you can actually make fees while being the liquidity. But I don't think they're waiting, because they'd have to just build like so much more. I have a hex bag and a pulsex bag. I don't want to trade them though. Only dry powder. That's what's up. Yeah. I think when the stuff launches, buying is the play, not the people who are like, ooh, should I sell it at 2x? It's like, dude, imagine being the guy who sold Ethereum at 60 cents because you 2x'd it from 30 cents when you got in early. All your friends will laugh at you forever. The transaction cost will definitely be lower. There's way more capacity until like it gets so much adoption similar to Ethereum that it just gets full again. But at the start, we're gonna have less users and less transactions on the chain, so there will be cheaper transactions. It won't be faster though, because it's gonna be just like ETH 2.0. I understand. Would you DCA or go all in on bridge day? Yeah, I'm not gonna say like FOMO in. That's never been the great play. It's usually these things they will pump and then they'll reset back down into test levels. It's not just a straight up thing. So it's very rare that it's like, oh, the best thing was to buy at launch and not look back like everything. That's almost never the case. Although Ethereum was like that, but that was I don't know if it'll DCAing in, you can't go wrong with that. Because then you just get like the middle of the road, like, it could have been better, it could have been worse, type of deal. Funny Jim mentioned he would put X dollar amount day one for both, then X dollar 30 days after launch. Oh, that's pretty Cool. Yeah, I had this idea. I'm kind of sad that Funding Gym used it. I don't think I talked to him about it beforehand, but like I was thinking, like I was gonna do like a cool, even started as like a small account so that it would be more encouraging in the future to show people like, yo, this is like a $1,000 or a $5,000 account. I put it into pulsex, put it into PulseChain or some hex, and I staked it, and then it'd be like a public one I would just show to everybody, and I'd kind of like keep it on every video and just keep track of it. And people will be people coming in and be like, "Hey, what's that portfolio tracker thing?" And I'd be like, "Oh, it's the public address where I just bought these coins and I hold them there, and this is the ROI. It's up, 10x right now or something." And they're like, "Oh, wow, okay. So you just started with that, and now it's worth 10 grand, or now it's worth 20 grand." And I just think that would be really encouraging for people to see like, wow, you can really make good returns in crypto if you get into the right stuff. But he's going to do it with like 50 grand or something. I'm not going to do it with 50 grand. I think he's doing like 50 grand in PulseX, 50 grand in PulseChain, 50 grand in whatever. So like he's making it really big, but he's going to show it to like the big wigs and the bigger guys, or he said any channel can like show it off. Like I've made posts before where I was like, wow, if you put in a 10 grand or 60 grand, and then you'd have $1 million in, if we go back to all-time high or something like that. And people were like, oh, I don't have 60 grand. But I also showed like every level of abstraction down below by like 10x. Like, oh, if you put in 6 grand, you'll have 100 grand. And then if you have 600, you'll have 10 grand or whatever. And but people just get like triggered by like, what do you expect us all to have 100 grand or something? And I'm like, dude, like just abstract it down to whatever. It's just like percentages, and I'm just using nominal numbers sometimes. I don't expect everybody to have that much money going around. It's just, I think it's cooler to show, these larger numbers that are possible. And also if there are people out there with that amount of money, then they're also more interested. Because if you're talking about, well, if you turn this $1 into 100, then you have 100, and then who's excited about getting $100? That's not as cool sounding marketing wise, I guess. I might still do that public address thing. I don't know if I've said it publicly before, but yeah. The thing is, like, even $1,000 or $5,000, I feel like putting into these coins so early could become such a huge amount. He wouldn't want it to be public. So I'm like even wary about doing that. Like, especially Funding Gym. Imagine, say like PulseChain or PulseX 1000x, and Gary does his thing and he bought 50 grand of each or whatever. He'd have over like 100 million because each one would go up to like 50 million. Do you want to be the guy walking around like, hey, I have this wallet that's got 100 mil in it publicly? I don't think that's why I think starting with a lower number, and that's the thing, is like we should have the ability to mix these coins, because these numbers can get so big. I don't think it's a better society if everyone knows everyone else's bank balances. Maybe it's fine because we'll just have better mixing and privacy stuff in the future, so you can have a large number that's kind of tied to your name. Even though you purposefully made it public, it's still dangerous in my mind. Like, it's way better if everyone just thinks you're poor, because then no one goes after you. You just don't get to clout chase on people. Like Richard's, like, he's so rich. He's multi-billionaire guy. He's gonna use that to his advantage, right?